All right, so we do have four. I'm going to start the meeting. We are conducting the January 10, 2023 public hearing of the Dartmouth Conservation Commission. And this is being conducted remotely. For those of you who probably do recall, way back, we had an emergency order as a result of COVID-19, and that had a rollback on June 15, 2021. And there was on June 15, 2021, enacting legislation to extend it that was signed, excuse me, into legislation on June 16, 2021. The extension was further extended by executive order from Governor Baker on March 12, 2022 until July 15, 2022, and then further extended on July 16, 2022 until March 31, 2023. Excuse me. As a result, this public hearing will be conducted remotely, and it does have features that allow the public to participate. We have a raise your hand feature at the bottom. And as I usually say, if all else fails, wave your hand and you will be recognized. This evening, we have a quorum of 4. And I want to announce that to any of the applicants who are going to present this evening. You have the option to request a continuance because you will need a unanimous vote of the commission in order to have an affirmative decision. Anything less than unanimous will be a denial. Okay, so when your time comes, if you wish to continue as a result of us only having 4, please let me know. And that continuance request will be granted. If you wish to proceed, that's fine too, but just understand you need a unanimous vote. Okay, first orders of business is the administrative. And the first thing we're going to do is approve the minutes of the December 6, 2022 public meeting. I have a motion. Seconded. We have a seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition seen or heard. That passes unanimously. Next is the approval of the field trip reports of the December 20, 2022 meeting. I have a motion, please.
So moved.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No opposition seen or heard. That passes unanimously. Third administrative item is to receive the minutes of the December 20, 2022 meeting.
So moved.
A motion? Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing and seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. We're moving now to our field trip reports, and the first is a request for certificate of compliance. It's on DEP file 15-2481 from Borrego Solar Systems for work at map 68, lot 34-4, otherwise known as 491 Faunce Corner Road. Mark, what is staff's recommendation?
Yes, let me just bring you back a little bit. This was a request that was made originally back in the fall. We did a site visit and we recommended, and the commission voted, a partial certificate of compliance because a small portion of the site was unstable and it was adjacent to wetland, and we felt that that area should have been mulched. Since that time, they have gone in, they have satisfactorily mulched and stabilized that corner of the site. Adam did a site visit. We did get pictures, which I believe I forwarded to you. That corner of the driveway, which is the northeast corner of the Ventura cluster or Ventura road array of this entire solar cluster, is very intact. So at this point, we're recommending a complete certificate of compliance so that they may move forward.
Okay, commissioners, what's your pleasure on this request? I have a motion to issue complete certificate of compliance.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor. Of a second.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing and seeing no opposition, that passes unanimously. Our second field trip report is also a request for a certificate of compliance. It's on DEP file 15-2588. It's from Jonathan and Eve Rounds for work at map 113, lot 29 and 30-1. It's otherwise known as 15 and 23 High Street. Mark, again, staff's recommendation on this request.
Yes, this is the result of a violation, probably about a year or two ago, and maybe a little more than that, actually, now that I think of it, where a neighbor who wanted a view, took down vegetation, with the agreement of the property owner, in a wetland. It was reported, it was a violation, and after the fact, notice of intent was filed, a restoration plan was done, completed. We viewed this during the late summer, early fall, and the restoration looked very, very healthy. We were viewing a violation on the abutting property. We filed the COC maybe a month and a half, 2 months ago. But what they failed to do was get a botanist to certify that the work had been done in accordance with the plan of records, so on and so on and so on. And so they went out, they provided a report. We went out after getting the report and verified that the report was in fact accurate. Having said all that, staff is recommending a complete COC for 15-2588.
Thank you. May I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Have a motion. Seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing and seeing no opposition, that motion passes unanimously. Our third field trip report is also a request for certificate of compliance. It's on DEP file 15-2002. It's from Richard Rayum for work at map 14, lot 8. It's otherwise known as 536 Potomska Road. Mark, again, staff's recommendation on this request.
Yes, this is a fairly old expired order of conditions. I think it expired in 2011 and just kind of laid around. Nobody did anything. I believe that there is a boundary line adjustment because a neighbor has crossed the line, so they're doing a land swap, and because of that, they need to close this out to make the title whole. We went out to the site, Adam and I. I know some of the work was done in accordance with the plan of record. I'm not certain that all of it was, and that's simply because the site is so mature and stable. It was very difficult to pick out all of the plantings. We did find some of them. So we're making the assumption that if some were done, all were done. There's no reason in my mind, whether every stick was put in the ground or not. The site is stable, it's natural, and pretty much in accordance with the plan of record. So we are requesting a complete COC on file number 15-2002.
Thank you, Mark. I'll entertain a motion to that effect.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing and seeing no opposition, that motion passes unanimously. We're now moving on to our public hearings. And as I mentioned at the outset, any applicant who feels uncomfortable about getting 4 votes tonight, you may request a continuance and it shall be granted. First matters, continued public hearing, DEP file 15-2491 from Wind Song LLC, care of Brian Storer, who proposes to develop a conventional 3-lot residential development within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as map 125, lots 19-1 through 19-7, and it's located off of Jason Drive. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor. A second on it.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing and seeing no opposition, That motion passes unanimously. And on behalf of the applicant, we have,
Rich Graham.
well, Rich, you wish to proceed with our four-member commission?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Okay.
So as you stated, it's just a simple subdivision road. There is a wetlands crossing with a replication. We've had Gus Raposo review it. And planning board is going to maybe make some minor changes, but they won't impact the Conservation Commission's interest. So I think we proceed.
Thank you, Rick. Mark, his staff had an opportunity to, I just, for some reason or other, I went off. Why did that happen? Probably didn't put coins in the meter. Mark, his staff had an opportunity to review this request, and what are his comments?
Yes, this has been a very protracted project over numerous months, extending beyond year. The project has evolved over time. It was originally an OSRD, then it became a 5-lot subdivision, and then it became a 3-lot subdivision, which is, I think, what we're looking at now, the 3-lot alternative. And it has changed and required numerous modifications to plan and numerous reviews at all levels. The wetlands are the wetlands. Mike and I verified this line probably 3 years ago, maybe even 4 years ago. We have a revised plan dated 12/7/2022. As Rich said, site plan review has not completed their review. And I believe there are some minor concerns with DPW. I did send you a memorandum from our peer review consultant, Gus Raposo. And I'm reading a portion of it, which reads, I recommend approval of the project subject to final approval of the Department of Public Works. There are some drainage comments that DPW is still working with. Neither Gus nor I think that they really are relevant to conservation. Should they become relevant to conservation, then the proponent would have to come back and amend an order of conditions. But at this point, we don't see that. So we are recommending that the commission vote to approve the project under the act and the bylaw with our new standard conditions. But what I've done is I kind of changed the order a little bit to emphasize a few of them. And that the first condition reads, the first special condition reads, this order is contingent on the applicant obtaining all other necessary required permits, licenses, or approval. This shall include and not be limited to a complete DPW sign-off and approval under site plan review. No activity shall occur prior to obtaining such approvals. So, and I sent these conditions to Rich yesterday. He reviewed them. He found one typo, but was comfortable with the rest of it. So he is aware of where I'm heading with this. The other change I made from the plan of record comes up at the end of the conditions. If you have them in front of you, let's see. Well, I can't find it specifically, but the condition deals doubling the number of woody plant specimens to be planted and increasing the density in the 2 wetland areas. Rich acknowledges that, and he said he was comfortable with that, so that would be my recommendation at this point.
Okay, so if I'm, oops, I almost dropped them. So when I'm looking at these, I'm looking at special condition number 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, A, 41, B, 41C, 41D, 41E, 41F, and number 42, special condition 42. Is that the recommendation of staff, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to be heard on this application? I don't see any. Is there any commissioner that wants to be heard, wants to ask questions? I don't see any. So at this point in the meeting, I will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Before we close, for some reason, I'm not finding the condition to double the plant number and lessen the density. I would like to add that in as a condition. If it's in here, I'll make sure it's in here. If it's not, I inadvertently didn't add it, but I do still think that that's critical. So all of the conditions you read, Mike, plus a condition to modify the planting schedule to increase each woody plant, double each woody plant and increase density.
Yeah, okay, I didn't see it in here, but I.
Yeah, I'm glancing real quick, and of course I'll find it tonight at, 2 o'clock when I wake up. But yeah, it may be here, it may not be here, but nonetheless, I want that also included, and I think Rich is aware of that condition. Yeah.
That's acceptable to us.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that said, I'll now entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition being heard or seen. That motion passes unanimously. I will now entertain a motion to issue the standard order of conditions subject to special conditions 20, 21, 22, A, B, C, D, and E, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, A, B, C, D, E, and F, 42, and also the special condition that the Conservation Commission agent may increase the size of the woody plant, the number of woody plants by 100%. That's twice the number. Can I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition seen or heard. That passes unanimously.
Thank you very much.
This second one is one I have to recuse myself with, so there's not going to be the ability to vote on it. So I'll need somebody to read it because I'll have to recuse myself, but I'll leave it up to the applicant's representative. I think it probably needs more commissioners in order to be heard.
I don't think it can't be heard because we don't have a quorum.
Right, but I mean,
So I don't think it's a choice. I mean, I think we lack a quorum, so it can't be heard.
that's true, but someone's got to read it, then we have to say it.
Yeah, no, I get it.
So I'm gonna click off and if somebody wants to read it, that'd be great. I appreciate it.
Okay, want me to read it? Continued public hearing, DEP file number 015-2549 from Vermet Development LLC, who is proposing an amendment of the order of conditions to construct a single-family dwelling with a garage and associated grading and utilities within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. With the revised change of model and shape of the house, it will require a change in the limit of work within the 100-foot buffer zone. The land described as map 128, portion of lots 14-6 and 14-7 off Avis Street.
Oh, and there, don't read the rest, the typographical error.
Okay. So since we do not have a quorum present, since the chairman has recused himself, we'll have to reschedule this hearing.
And on behalf of the applicant, Steve Gioso with CEC, obviously we agree with a continuance this evening to the next available meeting.
Okay. Mark, the next available meeting where we have time available according to your
Well, I
schedule.
think it's gonna be the 24th. I've got to look at that agenda though and see where it sits after tonight's meeting.
Okay, so
But there's no vote because we don't have a quorum. I mean, we legally cannot hear the hearing. It has to be continued by process. There's 3 people can't vote. It's safe to continue because it's not a quorum. That would be null and void.
We understand, not a problem. Thank you for your time.
okay, you're welcome.
Thanks for your
Have a good
understanding,
day.
Steve.
Good night.
Sorry about that, guys. The next matter, which is number 3, is a public hearing on DEP file 15-2659 on the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC, proposing a single-family dwelling along with an array of ground-mounted solar panels on the rear portion of lot within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as 138 lot 144. It's on Potter Street. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second,
The seconded motion. All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition. That motion passes unanimously. And on behalf of the applicant,
Mr. Chairman, the applicant is not here. I did forward to the commission a late request for continuance on this and the next 2 hearings because the 3 of them abut each other and are all related. As we have worked through the open government process, which we talked a little bit about last night, and other departments have chimed in, several hurdles have been put forth in front of the applicant. The applicant still has not responded to the DEP comments or staff's comments. We have still not seen an updated plan. At this point, they have some subsurface work they have to do out there. I think they're looking for the next meeting, but I responded to them and I think I copied you folks, that this probably is going to have to get pushed into February. I would recommend a continuance at this point for this and all 3 or the subsequent 2 hearings, and I know they have to be read into the record, but I would recommend a continuance to February 7th.
February 7th, Mark?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that came this evening for this or the next 2 matters? All of them involve abutting properties on Potter Street. I don't see anybody. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to continue the public hearing until our February 7, 2023 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes unanimously. We're moving on to number 4. And it is a public hearing on DEP file 15-2660. That's the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC, proposing a single-family dwelling along with an array of ground-mounted solar panels on the rear portion of the lot. It's within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. It's on map 138, lot 144-1 on Potter Street. Entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
We have a second on that, please.
Second.
Seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing no opposition, that passes unanimously. Again, there's been a recommendation from staff that we continue. Before we do, I'm going to ask the question again. Is there anyone in the audience this evening who came for this public hearing and wants to be heard tonight? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to continue until February 7, 2023, public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? No opposition being seen or heard. That motion passes unanimously. We're moving to the 5th public hearing, which is on DEP file 15-2658. It's on the notice of intent from Potter Street Solar LLC, proposing an array of ground-mounted solar panels on the rear portion of the lot within bordering land subject to flooding and the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. It's on land described as map 138, lot 144-2. It's on Potter Street. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing and seeing no opposition, that motion passes unanimously. Is there anyone in the audience this evening who wants to be heard tonight on this application? Seeing and hearing none, I'll now entertain a motion to continue this public hearing until February 7, 2023 at 7 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition being seen or heard. That motion passes unanimously. That concludes the public hearings. We're moving on now to the items for discussion. And the first item for discussion is a bill of $574.55 from WB Mason. I entertain a motion to approve payment of that bill.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second on it?
Just a question. Should we know what it is? What was it? What?
It's general office supplies, Joe.
Oh, okay. I approve.
We have a budget for office supplies. We have a vendor number with WB Mason. We are well within our budget for office supplies for the fiscal year. And we did, we're running short of pens, we're running short of file folders.
I approve. Just a point of order.
There could be a second on that, Joe, please? Just second. Then we have a seconded motion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing no opposition, that passes unanimously, excuse me. The second bill is a $4,000 bill from Gus Reposa, and that's for his review of the Windsong application, which we heard earlier this evening. Entertain a motion to approve payment of that.
So moved.
Second.
The second on it, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition, that passes
If
unanimously.
I could just make a point of order for everyone, just for background. Windsong had paid $2,500 probably 2 years ago for a drainage review. The numerous iterations of that drainage review exceeded the $2,500. In talking with Gus, he gave me a second estimate of $1,500, which had been paid by Windsong. So we have the $4,000 because that's much higher than our typical consultant rate. But we did collect the $4,000 from the applicant, so that money can be paid. It's just a matter of transferring an account.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we move on to items for discussion. Mark, I'll let you take over.
Okay, well, we were sent the conservation restriction for the Saulnier property, which is adjacent to the Russell's Mills property that we'll see on, and the Booth property. This is part of that Woodcock Road, Russell's Mills Road, Fishers Road corridor of open space, which DNRT is working to put together, and they're doing it piece by piece. The Saulnier piece is the third piece, as I understand it. And Nick Wildman is here to discuss it. What I can say is, having read it, it's pretty darn similar to the Booth CR. This one has been reviewed by town council. So town council is comfortable with it, and now it's a question of the commission voting to accept the CR. I think I got that right, Nick?
Well, just to clarify, thank you very much, Mark. To clarify, the request is for the signing of the municipal certification for
Oh,
public
I'm
benefit.
sorry.
Yeah, just so I can send it up to EEA. Most likely they'll have a few minor changes, as always, for your review later.
Appreciate that. And frankly, I know this is part of a puzzle that's being put together, and I think overall, the aggregation of this land is definitely for the public benefit. I think it's going to be a great way to protect and preserve and hopefully have some passive uses for the general public. So I'm in favor of supporting. Any other commissioner have any observations?
Could I request that we take a vote, motion second, and vote on this?
Yep. Okay, so we'll have a motion to approve, and we have it down as a conservation restriction, but you know, Nick, you've indicated it's really not before us as a conservation restriction, it's before us as approval for public benefit. So a motion to approve for public benefit, the Saulnier conservation restriction.
Second.
I can't make the motion,
Oh,
somebody is.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposition, that passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thanks, commissioners. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Nick.
Thanks, Nick. See ya.
Okay, Mark, you want to talk about the Paid Aram overwash?
Yeah, a couple of things here just for discussion purposes. Those of you who have transited Smith Neck Road since December 23rd probably noticed that there was extensive overwash. The Wayner dock was somewhat damaged. The Hutchins shrubs were displaced. What you may not have noticed, on the west side of Smith Neck Road, adjacent to the Paid Aram Marsh, the overwash did extend partially into the marsh. And I bring it to your attention because it was a project that, you know, staff, my predecessor, Mike O'Reilly, was heavily involved with, you know, the restoration of that process of that marsh with new drainage and such. So, I don't know, I inspected the site, but we typically, after a big storm, always go out to those potential areas that we know: Rogers Street, Smith Neck Road, East Beach, you know, east of Forest Neck Road, at Allen's Pond. We go down to Round Hill Beach, and we look at what, you know, the storms do to our coastline, and generally speaking, we observe certain storm changes, this being one of them. We actually did fairly well, you know, storm-wide. I think the only two things that we really noticed was this overwash area and the damage, you know, to the Hutchins and the Wayner properties. And Moses Creek was realigned again, which is not unexpected. Moses Creek is the discharge from the Round Hill Salt Marsh that goes up towards Ray Peck Drive. So just, this is an FYI that we're on top of it. I did take pictures and send them to Mike O'Reilly who project managed it from the town side, and to Jim Turek at the NOAA Narragansett facility, who was the federal person involved. And I believe I sent the responses to you that they agreed this was natural processes, really nothing to do, just it happened and they understand it. And while it looks pretty, or while it looks somewhat egregious now, in the end, it will, evolve into the system and actually probably be beneficial. So that's the paid narrow overwash. The next item is Round Hill South Beach storm damage. Mike Gagne, for those of you who don't know Mike preceded me, Mike O'Reilly, Rennie Druin, Bob Dollage as what was the equivalent of the environmental affairs coordinator way back when. He is now the project manager for the Round Hill Community Corporation. And he asked me to go down to take a look at some storm damage at the beach, in which the Round Hill, the private portion of the Round Hill Beach, which is called South Beach, had significantly eroded. And if any of you have been down there, you are aware that there are the remnants of the dry dock, the seaplane basin, the seaplane ramp, and the like. And what this erosion had done was really pull out a bunch of sand off the beach, exposing shards of wood, of old retaining walls, steel elements which protrude from the beach, and can possibly be a public safety or a public hazard to those people who transit the beach. And I realize that's the Round Hill community for the most part, but I think somebody said last night, you can bring a boat in, and walk the beach too. Mike had asked me if I had a problem if they not remove the stuff, but just cut the stuff flush, because they understand that if you start removing structural elements, you may change the beach much more than was intended. So I said to him, I did not have a problem with it, but I would bring it to your attention. I think it meets an emergency response for public safety. I do believe they're going to come back with a potential beach nourishment project at some point, because that beach did, and it's a very small portion of the beach, took a really harsh hit. So I'm bringing that just to your attention, that we are aware of what's going on down there, and we think it's a good idea to address it in the short term, and then look at a more longer term management program if they want to, further protect the beach with plantings and beach nourishment and the like. So that's that particular item. I pause just if there's any comment, because I do have to continue with this a little bit.
No, I mean, I understand the circumstances that led to the request, and I certainly think that it's warranted that they at least try to make it a little safer without doing anything which will alter the beach any further.
Yeah, then it's nothing is beach work. It's strictly cutting some stuff that's just protruding out.
I personally don't see anything wrong with that. As I mentioned last night, I have a little bit of an issue relative to our ability to even say that, but I'm not going to let anybody get hurt over words.
Right.
So I would think it's a legitimate request, and one that we can safely say, go ahead, make it safe, as Mark described. But I'll leave it up to any commissioners who might want to have comments there.
I agree. I looked at the pictures. I mean, I totally see the concern, and it seemed like you could trim those down without having any impact to the beach or in any of the surrounding areas. So I don't have any concerns with it.
I feel the same way.
I agree. young kids would love to play in this area, and I'm sure that it's a hazard and an accident waiting to happen. So I agree.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, this is not on the agenda. This sort of happened, a little bit after the fact, but, Mike also called me and I went back, and took a look. There is a resident, who seems to feel that, they can unilaterally cut vegetation in wetlands whenever they want. There have been several complaints by the corporation. There have been some neighbor complaints. This last one was a complaint about removal of vegetation from the dune in the area that you know, we were just talking about, that got you know, damaged by the storm, the beach. And it is rather egregious, and you know, it's typical. What has always been the process is that the corporation takes out permits, you know, for management in and around the Round Hill, you know, property, or properties, I should say. And, you know, staff has always worked in the best interest of the commission, but also with the corporation to manage activities, and they've generally been pretty good. And when they've made a mistake, they have let us know that a mistake was made, whether it was the corporation itself or residents who are part of the corporation. And that's exactly what has happened here. And given the fact that we've had at least 2 to 3, and maybe even 4 at this point complaints, I said to Mike that I would step in. So I have issued a letter to the residents indicating the complaints. I embedded a picture. I think I sent you folks copies of it. Embedded picture of the area where the plants were removed. And I basically gave them, you know, kind of an ultimatum. They're to cease and desist all activities unless they are in compliance with a permit issued to the Round Hill Community Corporation, or they get specific permission from the Conservation Commission. They do not have the unilateral right to manage vegetation as they see fit. Now, apparently, that may not go over well with them. Rumor has it that they are litigation happy, but I'm a big boy, so I'm not worried about signing a letter like that and sending it to them. I have not heard back. Again, that's an FYI to you folks, just to be aware. I know one commissioner, Richard Mallon, was contacted, but you know, so again, it's just an FYI.
Okay.
I will keep you informed if anything else happens.
And Mark, just sorry, one quick clarifying question. So is it corporation property, or is it their own property, or is that, do we not?
Corporation property.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, I believe these
One of the sites is adjacent to, and I want to say it's Fairway, T-Box 1, Fairway 1, along Seaside West. And the other area is the dune, just upgrading of South Beach, just to the east of the dry dock site, in between the dry dock and the seaplane ramp.
Okay.
So yeah, it is corporation land.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going on to
Yeah, the last one is, there is a 61 sale of land. I sent you a copy of the first page, Mark Roderick, for parcels on the very upper end of Potomska Road, map 24, lot 87, which has been subdivided into several lots. We have looked at 2 of these already. This is the third. These are frontage lots right on Potomska Road. They have no unique environmental significance to us in conservation or to the town in general. And I am suggesting to the commission to authorize me to send an email to Sean McGinnis and the select board indicating that we waive our right of first refusal, or we recommend that the town waive its right of first refusal is actually the proper word.
I see no reason to delay it. I think you're right. I would agree. So entertain, is any commissioners have any questions on that?
Mark, sorry, remind me, what's the value of the land?
What's the value? What do you mean?
Well, like
Or environmental value?
the actual dollar amount.
I have no idea.
Okay.
It's, no, you know, I didn't look into that. I know that it's pretty stiff.
Yeah.
The numbers I saw for the previous lots were probably exceeded the, you know, the assessed values. So even if it's interested, it would be, we would probably get into a protracted, you know, discussion over this, which is really not cost effective. And at the end of the day, I look at cost efficacy from, okay, we get this land, why? You know, why did we fight so hard for it? It just doesn't make sense. It's not, in my mind, it's not an effort I want to make for something I really don't want.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, I think some of the previous lots were 300K plus or something like that.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Okay. I'm in agreement to waive a right.
Do you want to vote on that, Mark?
You can vote on it. I mean, it sounds unanimous, so if you're just telling me that I can do it, I'll just do it.
Yeah, I think you just do it. I don't think you need to
Okay,
vote.
yep, no problem.
Then we have an enforcement issue, 673 Tucker Road.
Yeah, again, we have to go back to before the holidays. This came about, through a review of a building permit application. And the building inspector alerted me that he thought that there was some cutting in wetlands, so Adam and I went out probably before Thanksgiving. Yes, it was, because I'm looking at the enforcement order, which was dated on November 23rd. We went and inspected, and they cut right up to the wetlands, and they feigned ignorance as to the wetlands. However, I found it very interesting that there was a flag line right along the edge of the cut line. And the flag line was from LEC Consulting, which is a longstanding wetland consulting firm in the Commonwealth. So somebody flagged wetlands a long time ago, or let me rephrase. Somebody flagged wetlands at some period prior to the cutting, and they cut right up to it. So we issued an enforcement order on November 23rd, which basically required a restoration plan and an after the fact notice of intent to be filed with the commission by December 16th. Well, it's now January 11th, neither has occurred. Adam got a rather brusque phone call from one of the owners, Mr. Oliveira, who kind of like was, well, what's going on? We did everything we were supposed to do, and Adam was caught off guard. I was not in the office at the time. So when I got back, Adam reported to me, and I sent a rather curt comment via the Viewpoint comment portal, basically indicating that we've received nothing and that they were overdue by, at that point, probably 3 weeks, as we are approaching the 4th week. I'm bringing it to your attention. This is not somebody who is necessarily cooperative with us, gives us a lot of grief. He's also under some enforcement with building. He has violated some building code issues. So we're kind of working in tandem with building. Now, I know building wants to at least allow them to secure the building from weather So it doesn't deteriorate and, they have a building code liability issue. I said, well, we have the building permit on hold and I pretty much willing to keep it on hold until the enforcement order is at least addressed in part. At least a deliverable with some sort of hearing and conditions and a schedule for restoration. Until that time, I'm not willing to give that up. However, I would be willing to suggest to Joe that while we leave the building permit on hold, that he be allowed in his own discretion to allow them to close the building off to weather. And I think we're in a position as a commission, forgetting the building department issue, where we may want to take further steps, and I bring that to your attention. I don't know what those further steps would be. Clearly, we could bring it to town council if we wanted to, for failing to meet the enforcement issues. I leave it to you. I mean, that's typically the next step.
Well, you know what? Why would we treat anybody differently than we have in the past? I still don't see that. If people are going to disregard our requests, we have to do the next logical thing that we do for everyone. They're all entitled to the same process. We shouldn't cut favors to anybody. It is what it is. Otherwise, we're going to be accused at some point of playing favorites and picking and choosing when we want to enforce. And if that's the case, and we ever have to go to court, and that's brought up in a courtroom, we're going to look like fools. If they can point out similar circumstances, the commission didn't take any action, but against me, they take action. Think a judge is going to think favorably on us? I don't think so. So I'd say we do what we.
Sell me on it. I can be ruthless in these things.
Yeah, well, sometimes,
I don't have the authority to make that decision. If I did, I would have already been to town council, but we met.
I think all we can do, Mark, is we can bring it up to town council, say,
Right.
this is the situation, this is what we want to do. Town council can say, I don't think I can win, or I don't think it's ripe yet.
Right.
That's their call. But our call is to bring it up, and we're not the attorneys. You're absolutely right. And we're not so we bring it up. We've done what we can. Without town council, it's gotten ignored. And truthfully, I just don't want to start making differences based on who it is. Bring it up to town council, let them make the call. So if they decide to do nothing, that's on them, not on us.
Well, what I propose to do here is what I typically do is when you issue me to go to town council, I take whatever materials we have, in this case, an enforcement order. I send it to Sean McGinnis because he has to authorize us going to town council. We can't just go on our own as a commission or as the environmental affairs coordinator. So what I do is I send the request to Sean indicating what the problem is, and then please review and forward to town council. Now he can say pound sand and I'm not going to do it. Okay, well, he's not going to do it. He's the one who authorizes people to go to town council. I don't have license, nor do I think the
Well,
commission.
then let's go to Sean McGinnis. I kind of get it. They're trying to control the purse strings
Yeah.
and limit the amount of money the town spends on legal. I get it.
Right. Yep, absolutely. And I have no problem with doing that. That's the protocol that they want to do. That's fine. What I need is an authorization from you to do that.
I'll entertain a motion, rather, I can't make the motion, to authorize Mark to go and present to town administrator our request for town council to get involved in the enforcement issues at 673 Tucker Road.
So moved.
Second.
We have a seconded motion. All in favor? Aye.
Just as a secondary, does the commission have a problem if I let Joe Braga know that I'm going to keep it on a conservation hold, but I have no problem with him allowing them to at least from weather for the water.
if that doesn't impact the wetlands, I don't.
No, it's actually, it's probably more than 100 feet from the wetlands.
No, I'm not worried about that. Yeah, you can, I think.
Okay.
That's Joe's call. I mean, it doesn't.
Right,
really-
but it's all, but because we're tied in and we're holding it. It's a total hold right now, and Joe said to me, well, can we do a partial hold? I said, I don't know with that, I don't have a problem with it, but I think the commission needs to weigh in on it, and that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I'm glad he thought of that, but if it's not going to have an impact on what we have jurisdiction over, I'm not as concerned.
But the other thing is, we issued a cease and desist on all activity on site, so that's the trigger. So anyway, okay, that's fine. I will do that. My last item, and this is, I'm gonna call it item not reasonably anticipated. I thought we would get to this last evening. We never set a public hearing date for the bylaw review. And I think we probably should do that sooner rather than later. Because if we don't do it, we're never gonna have a target to go after.
Are you going to have that as a separate public hearing or part of our normal meeting?
Well, that's, again, that's a question for you folks. I would guess that there is a potential that we could have a lengthy discussion. It might be a standalone item. Where we just deal with that, nothing more, nothing less. I leave that to your discretion. I probably lean towards a special, but I understand that you are a volunteer group and I'm not volunteering you for anything. I'm getting paid for this, you're not.
Well, yeah, I guess that's one way of looking at it. I'm just trying to think of, we clearly, if we have a meeting the length we did last night, it definitely should be a standalone. Otherwise, we'll be concluding the meeting at 11. So with that, I think my own personal preference would be to have it as a standalone, just in case it lasts a long time. If we knew it was going to be a half an hour or less, I don't have a problem adding it to a regular meeting, but it could be a lot longer. It was last night. Anyone else have any ideas, comments on that?
I agree.
I agree as well. I think changes to the bylaw warrant its own meeting personally.
I would agree. I think that's our consensus. Now, what is the timing of it?
Well, what I did was, I did not make the presumption we were gonna have a special meeting for this, although I understood it was a possibility. So what I did was, our next 3 scheduled regular meetings are January 24th, February 7th, and February 21st. I think February 21st is really pushing it.
How about February 6th then? I think,
Pardon?
how about February 6th?
Well, let me finish my thought. There are 2 ways of going. We can do this on a Monday preceding our regular meeting, or we could do it on a in-between Tuesday. In other words, we would end up meeting 3 Tuesdays in a row instead of 2 nights in a row. So you could do the 14th of February, I think, would be one of them. Or you could do let's see, looking at my calendar right now. Yeah, we could do January 31st, which is a Tuesday night. Or we could do February 14th, which is a Tuesday night. Or we could do the January 23rd, which is a Monday. February 6th, which is a Monday. I mean, so you got kind of like 4 dates out there to deal with. And the other question is, do we want to push this as far back as we can to allow Patty recuperative time to participate in this?
I was gonna say, what if we just emailed the group those dates and see who can do what? Because I can do some of those, but not all of them. And I imagine it might be the case for everybody.
Well, I can't do the 31st. I know that, but other than that. So yeah, maybe that's a good idea. We'll just get a
Okay,
consent.
I will do that. I'll email the states.
You know, and to me, I think the thing we got out of this was standalone versus add-on, and I think that's a smart move.
And I would also submit at this point, we concentrate on the bylaw and get that squared away. And then we can deal with the regulations afterwards, not long afterwards. I think we have to jump right on it, or it will become very stale very fast. But I think that the bylaw, given the amount of discussion last night, I mean, my own personal opinion was there were some very dramatic changes to that bylaw structure that I was not anticipating. That doesn't mean that I disagreed with it, but you know, the bylaw was structured one way and there was a different take on it, which is fine. I understand it, and I think it made sense to me at some level. So I think we have some structural stuff that we have to do with the bylaw, which complicates, the revision a little bit.
I don't disagree with you. I think
You're
the,
moving stuff from bylaw to regulation and regulation to bylaw. I will tell the group, I began working on the very things we discussed last night. There is a new draft, but it's not a draft for review. It's a drafting process, but it dealt with a lot of the stuff we were doing. And one of the things I'm holding off on is I spoke to DCTV, and I spoke to our minutes clerk, and she is actually going to do minutes from last night's meeting. So we have all of the discussion. So, I couldn't remember every move of everything. So somebody on TV, she'll document it, and then we can go back and make sure we're doing what we were discussing, what we decided to do. And if there's still questions in areas, then we'll address those.
that makes sense. And this is certainly, in my mind, amplifying the reasons for having it as a standalone meeting. So
Yep.
It's awfully difficult to go from what we do on a normal basis to start to delve into that.
The other thing we might want to think about, and I'll leave this, I'll credit Maureen with this, my wife. Last night, she said, how'd it go? I said, well, there's a lot of stuff going on, it was, a lot of thought, she said to me, remote meetings may not be the best format to do this. Sometimes when you're doing documents like this, you need to sit around a table and you need to throw paper at each other and you need to write things down. One person, I'm not a clerical person, I'm a scientist. I don't have shorthand. So to get everything, together, if Mike has got an idea and he's verbalizing, it's like, hey, Mike, write it down on that notebook pad that you hand it to me and we'll figure it out. I think that might be something that we might want to consider. I think it might expedite, a review process. We can certainly set the meeting right, based on the email, and then we can figure out format, but I'm throwing out that in person might be a good idea for this standalone. And given the timing, we may be going in person, in 2 months anyway, so.
I think that's a smart, I agree with that, by the way. I know it makes it less convenient. It certainly is for me, but I think that's a smart way to go. And I might even want to consider whether everyone still wants it at 7 or they want to do it at 6, not go out as late. So, let's open that up too. What is
We can do it at 4:30 if we're doing it in
we
person.
could do it at 4:30 if people can do it. But I mean, I think though that's a good suggestion to look at it as an in-person and bring notepads and be able to do stuff.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. And maybe you can put that in the email, Mark,
Well, that's why I brought it up. I mean, I think that you know, we have to be creative here on how we do this to get this done effectively and efficiently. It's not a simple task, you know, right? Revising or writing anew bylaws and regulations is not an easy task. If you've never done it before, this is not abnormal. This is very normal.
And we won't know we made a mistake until we try it in the real world. And then we're looking at it and saying, oh, we should have done this or should have done that. So
Right. All right, that's pretty much it for me.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded motion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at 7:08. Good night, everyone.
Be safe.
All right, take care.
Good night,
guys.
everybody.